Good morning, everyone. It's currently 10:05, so we would like to begin so we can stay on time and ensure enough time to answer questions at the end. So once again, good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Ali Khan, and I'm a project officer assistant here at NIHIS's Innovation Department, and I will be your moderator for this morning's event. And welcome to part 2 of the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem webinar series. This series is intended to develop awareness and an understanding of the various international best practices among the members of the ecosystem, as well as establish a coordinated effort in achieving common goals. This webinar series is part of a larger entrepreneurship initiative by NIHIS that is aimed at increasing prototype and product development at NIHIS's Fab Lab, along with building the global innovation and competitiveness within Trinidad and Tobago. Please be advised that there will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but feel free to place your questions in the chat and they will be addressed at the end. Today's session focuses on the topic, exploring partnership, networking, and synergies within the regional innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, and will be presented by Ms. Julia J D Mitille, Management Consultant. Ms. Mitille has worked over 38 years as a business advisor and a trainer, and 24 years as a professional caterer. During her time in government service in St. Lucia, Ms. Mitille was a national coordinator of youth skills training, advancing to a business development officer, and finally held a position as the director of the Small Enterprise Development Unit. She was also an evening lecturer at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Currently, Ms. Mitille provides business support services to vulnerable single woman entrepreneurs. Ms. Mitille has participated in numerous youth and entrepreneurial development training activities and on a local, regional, and international scale. She has also been involved in the OAS Youth Skills Training and the Rural Economic Diversification Incentive Product. Ms. Mitille has an MBA from the University of Leicester, England, and she's certified as a Hospitality Assurance Advisor from the Caribbean Tourism Association. She also possesses a diploma in career pastry and baking arts from the Institute of Culinary Education, Manhattan, New York. I now welcome Ms. Julia J D Mitille.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ali. Pleasant good morning to everyone. With my presentation today, I felt it necessary just to give a briefing on 3 of the keywords in the theme that we're looking at with this session. And it's the 3 words I would like very much to focus on as I start the presentation is innovation, entrepreneurship, and ecosystem. Okay, so first of all, with the ecosystem, it's interconnected entrepreneurial stakeholders, and that includes persons in all the various sectors that I'll give you examples of. For instance, you're looking at the education institutions, you look at reps of embassies. Sometimes persons may not believe that they form part of the ecosystem, but all of them, I'll just give you examples. The financial institutions, that would include the banks, insurances, credit unions. You also have associations, entrepreneurs, the they're the heart of the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Am I speaking too quickly, or is it okay?
It's okay, you can go on.
Okay, all right. So I gave the examples of the persons in the ecosystem. That is for innovation and entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. Okay. Innovation and entrepreneurship influences economic diversification and global competitiveness. And basically, it informs as well as it tells you what you need to know and do in order to succeed in today's economy. And the persons who fall into that category and with the system are established businesses, public service institutions, for instance, government services that offer technical assistance and things of that nature to businesses, schools, because persons can go there and further their education in a particular area to assist with their business, new ventures. So I will now highlight the other key areas, which is innovation, just to give you just a briefing on it. It's the creation or execution of a new idea or improved knowledge. And what this does is when you have with innovation is you looking at it to have a positive impact on market acceptance. If it doesn't have market acceptance, then there will be an issue with that. Also, it is the goal of the organization, whether it's already established organization or somebody who is coming into the world of business, is to achieve value. So you will not do, basically, as you know, people go into business to make a profit. So if it will not add value, then it means that you should not go into it. Okay. Innovation helps helps entrepreneurship in increasing productivity, improve processes and business models, increase efficiency and new ideas and technologies. So as you go through innovation, and later on we will go into some areas of innovation, you're not only focusing on the product, but also processes that go on in the organization, because all of these contribute to the innovation that is taking place. So it's not restricted to only the product, but the systems within the organization. As a result of that, you will have a generation of greater output and value. Next slide, please. Okay. There are 3 innovations in business. Business model innovation, that is new or improved product or service or processes introduced to the market. Okay, so I'll just give a quick example of that. Let's look at, for instance, before getting your bank statement, although one has an option, it will be posted to you. Now you could access that online. You haven't got to wait for it to come. You can always access it online. Or some businesses, you could always call a particular line to get what your balance is. Okay, product, a new or improved product or service or process different to what was being provided before. And we can see it all around us, especially in the field of technology. And before, well, especially in the Caribbean, you would have had to go to a supermarket to purchase your products. Now you could order online and it can be delivered to you. Okay. Business process innovation, new or improved process or functions different to what was being done before in the business. You may have had a process before that was taking longer, and now you have modified that to take less time, which will improve efficiency within the organization. Next slide, please. Okay. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, Okay. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is turning the new idea, that's the innovation, into a business opportunity. And remember, entrepreneurs, that's basically what entrepreneurs are, taking advantage of opportunities. And entrepreneurship begins with innovation. An idea, whether new or old, and you think, but sometimes when the new one comes along, there are slight modifications to what obtained before. There are 3 types of Okay, I was getting some feedback, sorry about that. There are 3 types of entrepreneurs: social, solving community problems, products, or services. Basically, what this says is in certain communities, you can get entrepreneurship starting in communities based on a need that has been identified within the community. Startups, creating a new product or service, a product or service unique to the industry, or innovative marketing strategies. So all of these will be under startups. All of these are entrepreneurs. Enterprise, new ideas to existing establishments. establishing a wider customer base. You may feel that because you want to expand on your business and you want to have target a wider audience. So that has serious implications for the business. A lot of improvements, increasing production, strategies to combine new technology and system business models. So you will develop a lot of strategies. The enterprise will develop a lot of strategies in order to meet the goal of the organization. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, so I've just given you as I said, the keywords: innovation, entrepreneurship, and ecosystem. So right now I will go into sharing with you some of the experiences within St. Lucia, as well as some of those organizations that respond to our ecosystem in the region. And three main things we'll look at, systems we'll be looking at, is partnerships, networking, and synergies. Next, please. Okay, so now we'll start with St. Lucia. What I will do is give you what exactly the business does and some of the, whether it's networking, partnership, or synergies that they have established since their introduction into the market. Okay, one of those we have, which is fairly new, it is the Helen Daughters, and it's a non-profit organization, and it's focused a lot on rural women in agriculture. Okay, so their main focus is to improve market access for those farmers that they have gotten involved within the organization, adapting new agricultural techniques and capacity building amongst themselves. And I will just give you an example of some of the things that they have been doing. They have formed a network. They are now in St. Vincent and in St. Kitts. So there's the opportunity also for networking for Trinidad to come on board. And some of the things that they do is training. They also do training, mentorship. They also do a little bit of microfinancing, access to high value markets. And they do a lot of non-agricultural sessions with persons, for instance, going into soft skills or things to do with health. And they are one of that group is fortunate because they do a farmers market periodically. Well, very, very often. It is picking up steam right now. They have been given permission by one of the French embassy has one of their buildings and within a particular area where there's enough space to do that. So they have been given that opportunity by the organization to use their facilities to carry out the farmers market. They do also not only produce from the agriculture, but they also have agro-processing. And they get an opportunity to have for the farmers market, they also have these things on display. And periodically in St. Lucia, when there's a exhibition or something like that, they get to participate in it to show the produce that they have. They also do potted plants. They work with private organizations. Right now, they have one or two of their persons who are attached to a hotel that we call Hotel Chocolat. They produce their own chocolates. They have a farm, so they have the apprenticeship system with that. That's one of the projects that they are doing right now. Okay, so this basically sums up Helen's Daughters. So as I said, it's an opportunity for networking. And even in the networking, what can happen also, they can also share their experience, lessons learned. So things, especially in the negative light, will not, so one cannot repeat that, mistake. Second, the St. Lucia Manufacturers Association. It operates like any ordinary association. similar to St. Lucia, the rest of the islands of the Caribbean, including Trinidad. They provide a support network to their members. They do training. They take part in exhibitions. They participate in trade shows, whether it's local or overseas. They advocate for their members. And the whole main focus of the Manufacturers Association is the provision of quality products for local, regional, and international consumption. So even our islands are most of the islands within the region are small. There isn't partnerships can be formed, also networking. Instead of losing out on an opportunity, for instance, where a particular product or service is required, there can be networking or partnerships established within the region to take advantage of these opportunities. Export St. Lucia is the National Trade Export and Promotion Agency, and it spearheads St. Lucia's national export development to provide both volume and value of the island's exports. So basically, they, over the years, have been focusing on a lot of sectors and subsectors within the economy. Just in recent times, for instance, they did a lot of work with the beekeepers. They get them, the organization certified. They look for instance, sourcing a lot of the raw materials for those persons, getting them export ready, because the focus over the years have been on the local market, but there's a lot of opportunity in the international market. So as a result, Export St. Lucia has been doing a lot of work with them. Another product that you may be aware of also that is in high demand right now is CMOS, and they've done a lot of work with the CMOS producers also. They also recently got a market within the region with St. Croix for our local produce. So they are working with the small farmers to try to get them for getting them up to standard, because you know, with trade, you have to meet the international standards. So they've been doing a lot of work with them on that, in that aspect, so as to get the good produce over there and increase the potential for the island. Okay, so basically Export St. Lucia is there to promote and expand St. Lucian businesses in markets all around the world. So there's no limit as to which country that we try to, Export St. Lucia try to get the products. So there's a possibility of partnerships being established as well as networking, because from time to time, a lot of the Caribbean islands are invited to trade exhibitions and opportunities to establish contact with potential partners. So within the region, that can also be done. And that is part of, as I said earlier, the ecosystem where innovation and entrepreneurship is concerned. Next slide, please. Okay, St. Lucia Industry Small Business Association is a national umbrella body, a nonprofit entity of small, medium, and micro businesses. And it's another association, so the similar thing, advocate on behalf of those members. They do training, they get, one of the things that St. Lucia has been benefiting a lot from is the presence of the Taiwanese in St. Lucia. And they have been supporting a lot of our, I must say, a lot of our small business associations and organizations. They've been doing training, exposing to new technologies and a lot of these things, even getting sponsorship sometimes to participate in regional or international trade activity. Something I needed to mention also, as we talk about innovation and these kinds of things, because the similar thing that was done in St. Lucia can also be done in Trinidad. Okay. Recently, there was a new initiative initiated by the St. Lucia Manufacturers Association with the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association. A memorandum of understanding was signed between them. It's over a 3-year period. And basically the memorandum was for them to form a partnership with the manufacturers so that they can benefit from that engagement. Companies will work very closely with the Hotel and Tourist Association. And that was done in recent August 22. And the Hotel and Tourism Association has also committed to hosting discussion forums in which problems can identify problems that hinder the manufacturers can to access export markets and brainstorming solutions to overcome these challenges. Also part of that memorandum is that they have, the Hotel and Tourism Association have an insurance, and most of them, those small associations, their members, based on especially organizations like the Slitsville Small Industry Business Association, a number of them, so number of those businesses that in their membership do not really have insurance. But with that memorandum of understanding signed between the Manufacturers Association and the Hotel Association, the Hotel Association is now inviting, in the memorandum, they're inviting members of the Manufacturers Association to be part of that insurance. So that is a plus. So that is a little, I can call it a little innovative thing that has just come into that arrangement. So these are all the kinds of things that you could do with these types of partnership or networking. And also when it comes to the ecosystem, geographically it's localized. However, they can cross geographic boundaries. And we see a lot of that, which is a typical example is my presentation now. I am not in Trinidad. However, we can still link and partner. Okay. The National Skills Development Center, it is a government establishment where a lot of vocational skills training and development is done. So there are few of them that are for free, but most of the projects that they do, or the programs or the areas that they focus on, it's of benefit to people around the island and in all sectors, especially when there is a particular demand for a particular skill, they try to develop and respond to that accordingly. There's a potential for any of the other islands to network with an institute like that. There may be some training that you have been doing that you are good at, that you feel that this institution can benefit from, and you can form a partnership or you could network with them. So all of these are possibilities that can be looked at. We have also a project which was started. It was really a pilot project in the OECS, but consideration is also being given to the wider Caribbean. It's REPLUS OECS project. I will just give a little more detail on it as I go through the organizations. One of the organizations that I have identified, which has partnered with the government of St. Lucia and a French entity to execute this particular project. Okay, so basically the project, the purpose of it is to redirect plastic from the natural environment. So what has been happening is that the plastic water bottles that we drink, there's a collection depots around the island. It is advertised what location that they will be at to collect the bottles. So persons bring in those bottles and they are given rewards, point rewards, and they can use that at certain establishments. So these kinds of things, and it would be a very good partnership as this particular project. I think right now they reviewing what has transpired under the pilot project, but they're hoping to continue that particular project. And I guess they will be looking at partners, not only in the OECS, but the wider region. Next slide, please. Okay. Now we're looking at regional organizations that one can benefit from. And sometimes we are into, well, you in the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, but you're not aware of certain organizations that can be of benefit and of use to your ecosystem. So I have highlighted a few of them that I will go through with you. Unite Caribbean, it is one of the project that I just told you about, the plastic, recycling plastic, because the whole idea is to remove a lot of these plastic bottles from the environment, and it is exported to Martinique. With the pilot project, it was exported to Martinique. So I guess Martinique, it may possibly go across to Europe. So Unite Caribbean is it's an organization. The purpose is to answer the Caribbean challenges. So they do developing of regional cooperation, and the plastic project that I described for you earlier is one of those that they have done. And they encourage network and knowledge sharing. So they develop, mobilize resources, and implement cooperation projects with local partners. So they could do projects within Trinidad, or they can do regional projects. But basically, that's what they're about. So that's a perfect opportunity for synergy and networking. Compete Caribbean, a private sector development program. They do a lot of technical assistance or / capacity building to enhance productivity and competitiveness of Caribbean businesses. So they deliver innovative and practical solutions based on their experience, and they do activities that enhance the legal, institutional, and regulatory framework for business and innovation. So that's a good organization that one can tap into. So you could establish either networking or synergy, or any of these partnership, even too, of any of the services that they provide. The next, Business Entrepreneurship Network Caribbean. It connects persons who are very early into business. It provides information and resources that are necessary to transform ideas into successful products and or services. Then again, you have synergies that can be established, and network. With this particular organizations, okay, I need to give you just for Compete Caribbean, they just give you two projects that they have done and where you can benefit. They currently, on the 26th of May, they will be doing a Bailey's seaweed webinar of best practices in sustainable seaweed production. So that can be a perfect opportunity for any of your grouping, sector associations, or any of them, to partner with them to carry on, or whether it's a webinar, or probably have a consultant who will be able to do training or something to that. Also, there's a global digital service industry activity to take place in Jamaica. That is June 14th to 15th, Montego Bay. And over 400 service companies and 40 countries will be participating in that particular event. Okay, so these are two examples of projects that they have undertaken. Now, with the Business Entrepreneurship Network Caribbean, there are two projects that they also have done, and it will just give you an idea of possible projects one can undertake with them. And digital marketing mastery certificate course, so they can be involved in providing specific courses towards the Business Entrepreneurship Network. So this is an opportunity for synergy and networking, even partnership. And they also do some panel discussions. So in March of last year, they did a business mix-up panel discussion. So they can get involved in a number of activities which is of benefit to organizations. Next slide, please. Caribbean Export Development Agency. This is one of 2 projects that I will be talking about that is undertaken within the Caribbean Development Bank. In my experience at the ministry, we benefited from 1 or 2 of these projects. There is the Caribbean Export, where it's building sustainable business across to achieving economic transformation. And the services that they provide is export development, export promotion, investment promotion. So they do a lot of capacity building and there's possibility of networking and synergy systems with them that one can benefit in the Trinidad innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Next one is the Caribbean. Let me see if I can get an example. Caribbean exports. Okay. Caribbean Export, they give the technical assistance, understand that innovation, adaptability, competitiveness, and access to finance and technical assistance is needed by small business. There was a recent mission to Europe by Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they were also exposed to the best practices to Europe to reactivate businesses opportunities for the micro, medium, and small businesses within their countries. And they did that based on what transpired with COVID-19. So to get them back on track, that was one of the things that mission seek to address. They do the capacity building. So it's legally registered nonprofit organization. It is based in Barbados. And it's originally, oh, sorry about that. I just mixed up something in that. Okay, but they do a lot of the capacity building. I was just about giving you some information for another organization. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we go to the Caribbean Policy Development Center. And basically it's a coalition of Caribbean non-governmental organizations. And by that you have a lot of these NGOs. So you have the churches, the various organizations within the country that are not for profit. They can provide technical capacity building. So they can work with these organizations in producing policy that they can use in their respective organizations. So there's a possibility of the networking, synergy, and possibly partnership with the Caribbean Policy Development Center. Okay. And I'm just going to give you 2 examples of projects that they have done. They partnered with the Department of Youth and Services in hosting a project on climate. My apologies. That has to be for number 6. Sorry about that. I hope I did not confuse anyone. But that's basically with the Caribbean Policy Development Center. So they can assist you in doing policy preparation, development and preparation for all of these non-profit organizations which are part of the ecosystem. Caribbean Youth Environment Network. It focuses on empowering young people and their communities to develop programs or actions to address socio-economic and environmental issues. And with this particular networking organization, they develop programs and actions to address, as I said earlier, the socio-economic and environmental issues, as well as they facilitate youth development. And I'll just give you two examples of projects that have been undertaken. Partnership with the Ministry of Youth in hosting a project on climate justice and indigenous livelihoods designed to build awareness, enhance capacity, and provide financial support to youth-led climate justice projects in Belize. Another project that they did also was a 5K climate justice walk run entitled Walk for Your Future, which was aimed towards increasing awareness of climate change and climate justice to Barbadian citizens and residents. So they are an organization that works a lot with the youth, and any of the organizations within the ecosystem can benefit through either partnership, networking, or synergy with this particular organization. So a lot of these organizations that I mentioned, they do a lot of capacity building. Next slide, please. Okay. There are two projects under the Caribbean Development Bank that is of benefit, a lot of benefit to the regional innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. One is what they call the Caribbean Technological Consultancy Services, known as CTCS. And what it has done, based on my experience working with government, they provide technical assistance. So one of the things that they can do is, for instance, you can identify before they would do a one-on-one technical assistance where they fund whoever that is identified to do the technical assistance for the company, they would fund everything relating to that person. If it's somebody coming from overseas, for instance, they would pay for the travel, the accommodation, the allowance, and all of that. But they have changed it slightly over the years. Now they do groupings and not individuals. So within any of the sectors that you operate, participants, whether it's through an education institution, a business association, a school, or what have you, you can access funds from them to pay for the training that has to take place. And whether you get a local consultant or an overseas consultant, they'll meet the cost of that. So that's something that you can benefit from. So you can do the partnership and networking with them. They have been very reliable. Just recently, they did a project with St. Lucia, where they were trying to, that is with mushrooms. So those persons got the opportunity for possible training that they have to do with those persons they want to train in that mushroom project. And CTCS will be financing that. Well, with that project, government is also putting in some funds, but sometimes the organizations or the businesses that they deal with do not have that capital. So that project takes care of that. So it's a good project that one can, if you have not heard of it before, it is a good one where you can do some partnership and networking. Okay, another, out of this particular project fund, the CTCS services, came the Cultural and Creative Industries Innovation Fund. Because of the large number of persons in that particular sector and how wide that sector is, the Caribbean Development Bank have decided to do it, to look at the culture and creative industries separate to the other services that they provide under the CTCS project. So there, the support and development of the creative industry sector in the Caribbean. So they do a lot of capacity building along the same lines as the CTCS, where they will do financing when you get in, whether it's a local or overseas consultant. Because they're trying to enable the regional cultural and creative industries to be globally competitive. And as you know, most of our entertainers, for instance, an example, a lot of them, while they have the skill, they are not able to go out there and they need further enhancement. So they will, that particular fund is developed to do that type of work. Well, given that you all all the islands, especially Trinidad, where Carnival is concerned, so that can be a perfect opportunity for you to do it, whether it's with the Bands Association, the Calypsonians, or any of these things, whether you use one of your own consultants or an overseas consultant. See, the Caribbean Development Bank under that fund can assist with that in that regard. Okay, so partnership, networking, all of these things can be established with that establishment. And both these two programs are being done through the Caribbean Development Bank. There are also other programs that they do. So they, it would be good to get, because of my limited time in presentation, I just highlighted some of the critical ones, and those I know that work very well. The Afro-Caribbean Business Network, I was trying to get a little more information on that company, but in my research, I came across them and I just felt I should highlight it because there's possibility of potential. If none of very few persons know about it and are aware of what they're doing, then it's an opportunity to do further research and see how best you can profit on it. Okay. It provides resources for Black business owners to build sustainable and successful businesses. It encourages entrepreneurship. It is also financed by the Canadians, and I do not have any experience with them, so I am not able to tell you exactly how successful it is, but they seem to be around. And there's a program that they provide every Tuesday, Program Tuesday Black Ecosystem. So that might be a good program that one can follow, and just to get a feel of exactly what they are exposing entrepreneurs to. So that can be something that you can look at. You may probably want to do it in partnership with them, through whether it's a webinar or something like that. So that's a possible business that, organization or network that one can tap into. CrossQ, I am sure a number of you all have heard of it. It's the Caribbean Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. And basically it is set up to facilitate development of regional standards. While it focuses on standards and things for products and services, it can also be beneficial to a lot of non-profit making organizations. You can access the Caribbean, CrossQ, to help if standards, for instance, possibly you want to develop standards along with your local Bureau of Standards, to develop standards for maybe the manufacturers feel that there's a particular standard that they want to get done, and they can work with CrossQ as well as the Bureau of Standards. So that's another critical, as you know, there are a lot of standards. And if we want to look at the region and beyond, we have to look at standards. All these systems need to be in place in order for us to access the wider market. Next. I think that's about it. Yeah. So in a nutshell, this is what I had to share with you in terms of exploring partnerships, networking, and synergies within the regional innovation and entrepreneurship system. And to understand it simply, all of you present, they are part of the regional innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitille, for that insightful and informative presentation. The floor is now open to questions. You may raise your virtual hand and unmute your mic to ask any questions, or you can type them in the chat. I have a few questions. I will share my screen now so you all can see just for Ms. Mitille to answer, and you all can continue to place your questions in the chat or raise your hand if you, whichever is more comfortable for you. Right, so I just saw in the chat that I think April said that question 1 could disregard question 1, but you can go ahead and answer the other questions, Ms. Mitille.
Can you get headquarters of these facilities? A number of them are based in Barbados, actually. The Caribbean Development Bank, most of them are based in Barbados. And as I said, I have only highlighted 2, but there are several other programs and projects at CDB that one can gain access to for the ecosystem. What are the locations and there's a lot of potential. Actually, recently we had a few of our local farmers who were able to send a lot of the ordinary seaweed to the US. But we also have one of our local innovator has come up with an idea for the sarcasm seaweeds. And there's still a lot of work being done on it, but it can be used as a fertilizer. But given the level of I guess, salt in it, there's a lot more work to be done on it, and it can be, so one can consider looking at it for, as I just said, fertilizer, but a lot more work would have to be done on that. So there's a potential for that because, we have a lot of it and it will not go away in a hurry. So start putting on the innovative caps to see what other areas that can be, what it can be used for, because we have a lot of it and it's affecting our marine life. If one wants to develop a consultancy, what is the best approach to do? Okay, to do a consult, okay, develop a consult. Okay, I am interpreting that 2 ways. I'll tell you, I guess I'll just, if one wants to develop a consultancy, what is the best approach to do so? Okay, if you're looking at developing the consultancy where you want to access the funding, there are forms available from the CTCS and guidelines that will guide you as to exactly what it is you have to put together in order to present to them for consideration. Now, I'm looking at it from another perspective. If you as an individual want to develop a consultancy, one of the first and most basic things that you need to know to have is experience in the particular field that you want to look at. And you start to do your networking because you would have worked with persons, persons, so you start to get your feel of which direction you want to go to. And from there, persons, for instance, depending on what the consultancy is, who from time to time want that service, you sell out your idea to them and for you to start getting things going. What general advice would you give for strengthening partnerships and influence among innovators and from Trinidad and Tobago and St. Lucia to other region? Okay, with some of those organizations that I have, for instance, highlighted in St. Lucia, establishing a contact with them, having discussion and finding out whether they are interested in it, because in all the islands, even though Trinidad is one of the big ones of the islands, there may be an opportunity that one should not allow to slip by. So for instance, you may get I'm just giving a fictitious thing. You may get an order to do, for instance, 12,000 hats, and your capacity is only for 250. So how do you get the others for you to capitalize on that? So you need to establish and know for sure that the persons that you would want to bring in, both in Trinidad, if Trinidad you cannot meet the quota, and beyond that, the standard is up to mark. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can establish a partnership, synergy, and these kinds of things. So it's a matter of knowing who that's why I have given you for instance, the associations are one of the key organizations that you should be in touch with in any of the countries, so you can start that link. Because for instance, the Manufacturers Association, with their membership, you will get people in manufacturing in all different sectors. Also, the Small Business Association, their membership would have a variety. So your first contact point would be the associations and the associations and the Ministry of Commerce in all the countries. And something I omitted, earlier on was in the CTCS program, for instance. The locally a committee was established that had representatives from the ecosystem. So you had, but the ministry was the base for that particular project. And for the other project that deals with creative industries, we have the Cultural Foundation. They are the ones responsible. So any funding, and they too write proposals to access funding from CTCS to do training themselves. So it's open both to the ministries, the government institutions, as well as businesses. Are you aware of any makers species in the region that would be interested in having the? Oh, sure. When I talk, I'm not too sure if I missed out on that. Did I? Yes, I did it. That's the national NSDC. They do a lot of training. That would be a good opportunity for you to do, because remember the ecosystem, it goes across boundaries. So you may not necessarily have to be in St. Lucia, but you can do it from there. So there are a lot of opportunities. Also, not only the NSDC, but all of the associations that I have mentioned can also be tapped into for forming partnerships and synergies with your organization, with your lab. There's a lot of opportunity for that.
There are also a few questions in the chat. I will read them out for you. So Shibam asks, can we run a startup program on our coast to remove the seaweed in the waters before it touches the shore?
I didn't get part of it.
Sure. Can we run a startup program on our coast to remove the seaweed in the water before it touches the shore?
Yes, actually in St. Lucia, they do that periodically. I think they do it also in Barbados, where they because it has been really, really bad. It's like maybe there's a particular community, 2 communities where it is really very, very bad. And I know over the years, as it comes on, the government has a system where they try to get as much of it out of before it gets to the waters. And I think I have seen a documentary where because the states also have the problem where they try to catch it while it's out before it gets to the shore. So it's a matter of getting a proper system whereby you could have the boats or the nets or whatever it is, set up something where when you see it's coming, that they can set up something within the waters to capture it.
Okay, great. And I see Luke sent in the question, lots of good information, but in terms of the SME landscape, if the initiatives are well known, they are limited in terms of who they can assist at the time based on the number of SMEs. But what of Trinidad and Tobago specifically in terms of the landscape to guide?
I am not too clear on that one. If you just if you're not asking too much, if you could just repeat.
Sure. Yeah, no
I got
problem.
lost somewhere.
Yeah, it was a long message.
Yeah.
But they were asking in terms of the SME landscape, if there are initiatives that are well known, they are limited in terms of those who can assist at the time, based on the number of SMEs. But what of Trinidad and Tobago specifically in terms of the landscape to guide? Okay,
so that's a perfect opportunity to access. I do not know whether the Ministry of Commerce in Trinidad has a link with CDB. So that would be a perfect opportunity to respond to the question that you just gave me.
Okay, there's another question. The persons who do seminars for peatland soils, is that a possible avenue to place the seaweed in open land to melt and decompose to create microbiomass rich soil?
That one is very technical. I do not know much, but as I indicated, there's a young entrepreneur in St. Lucia who started developing a product that has been used. I think he has sold some of it also overseas. So but there's still other possibilities. So it's a matter of there's a wealth of information online, so one can possibly, check online and try to get some ideas and further develop and experiment with it because you have labs in St. Lucia, sorry, in Trinidad, where you can go and do a lot more testing than we can here. You know, Kariri is one of the organizations that they can approach with the experimenting, but it is very important to document everything that you're doing as you try to develop the product. So that's very, very critical.
There's another question. Can you tell us where those villages are? The mapping of currents is vital for the university in Bahamas. Thank you.
Okay, so that is on the villages where the weed, that is on the East Coast. The East Coast.
Oh, okay.
The East Coast of them.
Last question. Are there any facilities in the Caribbean that can help with cleaning the seaweed for properly extracting its compound for skincare product development?
That one is another technical one, and it would be one of the ministries that look at the climate change and environment would be able to. So within Trinidad, if they can approach somebody, the ministry who is responsible for climate change and adaptation and things like that would be able to guide the person accordingly.
Okay, okay. There are no more questions in the chat. I'm not sure if anyone else has any more questions. No.
Hi, good morning.
Yes.
This is Joanne from Nehers. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Mitille. It was a lot of good examples. And what I notice is that there's just so much opportunity always taking place in isolation. And I mean, this question is not necessarily for you, but anyone in the audience who could speak to it, like how can we truly promote this approach where, you know, this information is available or it's in a format that a specific area where persons can go to and access all the various opportunities available, because there are lots of people who are unaware and could really tap into some of these things. For example, the persons in Mayaro Beach and the seaweed seminars and that kind of thing.
Okay, I will, if I can just add to what you are saying, we have a Ministry of Economic Development, and they have access to a lot of organizations, some which will do funding solely for government organizations and also for business. Like for instance, today there is something on energy, and I think there is funding to go with that is taking place in St. Lucia right now for the small businesses. And also the Ministry of Commerce. And I don't know if you have a business center or business organization within the ministry, most likely the Ministry of Commerce, whereby it could be something that one can suggest that they feed in a lot of that information from the ministries, and people can go there and access that information. But there's a lot of organizations and a lot we don't know of. Sometimes accidentally you come across it. Yeah. Also, I don't know if I mentioned that, but in the ecosystem, one institute set well, that sector that people know, a lot of people do not focus on, are the representatives of various countries, their embassies. Most of them do assist and provide technical capacity building and sometimes even funding. So in your ecosystem, also remember that component. So your embassies, they may have funds available. Most times they have funds available that you can tap in. They may have resources that you are able to use because of the limited amount probably that the association has, the ministry has, you know, whether it's the tertiary, whether it's your lab facilities, you know, to improvement or new techniques that are coming in, whether they can assist you in identifying the best suited, or even assisting, giving some financial assistance and even technical assistance.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So this brings us to the end of today's session. But before we close, I ask that if you all can please turn on your camera so that we can take a group photo. Give you all time to do that. Great. So thank you. Um, it's okay. It's okay if you don't have any computer available. Right. Okay, great. So thank you, everyone. And in closing, Nihis wishes to extend our sincerest gratitude to today's speaker, Ms. Julia J D Mitille, and to the participants of this session for your interest and engagement. We would also like to thank the teams at Nihis and GBEST Trading Company Limited for coordinating this session. For any further inquiries, you may reach out to our email fablab@nihis.gov.tt. I did place it in the chat for you all. And please stay tuned for the other installments in the webinar series within the upcoming weeks, which will be shared to you via email and on our social media handles. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much.